This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
So, Andrew, I gotta ask you one question. How do you feel about moral victories? And do you even feel like this past weekend was a moral victory for the Lions? Because I'll give you my opinion on it in a little bit here, but I am curious to hear yours.
For one, how do I feel about moral victories? I only like to use that term in very specific scenarios. Like a couple years ago under Matt Patricia, when the Lions
gotta win
easily, not even gonna win. When we were playing like Kansas City at the height of Kansas City, like their championship year, and we somehow played them close all game, and we were easily the worst team in the league. That's a moral victory.
Yeah, but let me ask you this. If you're talking
about week one, like with what the Lions just did against the Eagles, that is not a moral victory. They were on the verge of getting blown out, and they kind of sort of came back, but not really. It was a little too late. They didn't even come back in time to get the ball back for an actual potential game-winning drive. They came back in time to just make it look better on the scoreboard.
You can save some of this for the episode.
It's not a moral victory. But yeah, continue. Sorry.
This is the Fan Report, where it's by fans.
For fans.
I'm Nick, and my co-host here is Andrew.
What's up, guys?
You can follow us on Twitter at Real Fan Report. We are brought to you by Detroit Sports Podcast at Detroit Podcast on Twitter. This is episode number 173. And yes, we are going to be talking about the Lions' Week 1 performance. We are going to be leading into a little bit of Week 2 as well. And we do have a little bit of a fun Pistons topic that involves some Reddit hot takes. So we're going to have some fun with that one. But, Andrew, to go off of what you were saying, when you talk about the moral victory that they had under Patricia against the Chiefs, what did that lead to in the grand scheme of things?
Just hope.
Nothing. Nothing. Because Patricia got fired. 80% of that team is gone. Nobody cares. The team still won like 3 games. Mm-hmm. Moral victories don't mean a damn thing. And frankly, I don't think there are such a thing as moral victories because they don't actually lead to anything. Mm-hmm. They don't change anything. And frankly, if you want to talk about moral victory this week because you only lost by 3, you had a backdoor cover. Let me tell you this. You brought up the fact that I want to say it was 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, talking about how you thought the Lions could be improved this year because of the fact that they didn't win a single game. They had like 6 games where they lost by less than a touchdown. Yeah, well, in those 6, like, you want to talk about games that are.
I also did say that's not abnormal for the NFL.
It's not abnormal. It's actually pretty much very average. But you also want to bring out another stat that shows you that the Lions are not the cardiac cats, the comeback team, good in close game situations. I believe they've lost 12 straight games that have been decided by less than a touchdown. They're 0-9 when trailing by more than 9 points after halftime or something like that. Like they are not a good football team. And they haven't been for a long time.
That's basically 3 years of Matt Patricia and then rookie head coach Dan Campbell.
Right. To use they lost 6 games by less than a touchdown or less than 3 points, whatever it was last year. I think it's irrelevant. And I said that. I said that when we
people actually saying that.
You did.
Are people? No, I didn't say it was a moral victory.
No. Well, yeah, there are a lot of people that say it was a moral victory.
I said this was not a moral victory. I said I do not consider this a moral victory.
I'm more referring to the comments a few weeks ago that the reason we should think that this team be improved is because they lost 6 games by less than a touchdown.
Oh, that wasn't the reason. That was just one point I was citing.
And I think it's a fallacy in my mind, and I think this game proved that. I don't believe that this was a moral victory either, and frankly, I don't even believe moral victories because I don't think moral victories change a damn thing. And the reason I say that is because this team never had a chance to tie the game. Never had the ball with a chance to tie the game. They were down by multiple scores late. Mm-hmm. And yes, you were able to put some points on the board late in the game when Philly's defense wasn't gunning at you a ton. There are some positives you can take from this game, like the fact you put up 200 yards on a pretty damn solid Philly defensive front. Mm-hmm. Probably one of the better defensive lines that you will see this season in Philly, you put up 200 rushing yards against him. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Swift looked like a star.
But like, how can I call it a moral victory when basically all the flaws that I pointed out, wanting us to expose, or wanting me to be proved wrong on, aka, can our below average linebacking core actually contain what Jalen Hurts on the ground? Can our secondary do anything to contain AJ Brown? Can our receivers take advantage of their secretary?
Brown, that's for damn sure.
Their secondary. The only thing that actually they proved me wrong on that I didn't call from last week was the ground game. I was like, can this O-line and Deandre Swift actually get it going against a really good front seven? And they did. That's the only plus I take from this game. Everything else went exactly as I predicted, other than the fact that I thought they were going to lose by a touchdown.
The Lions' front seven gave up 186 combined yards to Miles Sanders and Jalen Hurts in 30 carries.
That's
and 2 touchdowns. That's like over 6 yards a carry.
I put my money where my mouth is. I bet on Jalen Hurts and I bet on AJ Brown and I put them both in the FanDuel lineup and they all won me money. So
I would have put, I even said watch out for Miles Sanders last week. He was a guy who destroyed the Lions in the last time they played, and guess what happened? He beat them again. 7.5 yards per carry. 13 carries and a touchdown. AJ Brown 10 catches for 155 yards. He just didn't get in the end zone. Don't get me wrong, Jalen Hurts wasn't exactly a revelation at quarterback. I don't think he ever is, frankly. He didn't throw a touchdown pass. His yard.
I'm talking about the ground game for him. That's what I was talking about.
That's what he is. He's a running back, basically. This guy.
Yeah, but that's where you rely on the linebackers to not let Jalen Hurts run for 70 plus on you.
Well, that was never going to happen. The positives that you can look at offensively for this team, I don't think Jared Goff played that great of a game. He picked it up late. Woohoo. DeAndre Swift was a star. That's one big positive. Jamal Williams in short yardage got it done. I got one more positive for you, actually. Amon-Ra St. Brown continued his success from last season with touchdown. And DJ Chark came back off the injury from last year with a solid, not great, but solid game. Scoring a touchdown on 4 catches and 52 yards. Those are the positives you can look at. The other positive you can look at, Okudah didn't make an ass of himself entirely.
He actually did a pretty damn good job with Devontae Smith.
Yeah, well, actually, Devontae Smith was held catchless. So, but he only had 4 targets. So,
Okudah did a pretty damn good job.
Oruwariye, terrible. Terrible. But again, that's a tall order going up against AJ Brown. This Lions defensive front that we invested a lot in this offseason, including 2 of our top 3 picks, one of which the guy's hurt. He didn't play. But Aiden Hutchinson, 1 assisted tackle this entire game. What do you make of that?
Not too much, to be honest with you. It's his first game in the league. Again, I wasn't expecting Aiden Hutchinson to come out and be a world beater. Now, was I hoping for it
as a number 2 overall pick, though? Wouldn't you kind of expect somebody like that to come out and be a world beater, to be dominant?
It wouldn't surprise me if they did. It wouldn't surprise me if they did, but I never put that expectation on rookie performance for week 1. Is it disappointing? Yes. Am I by any means upset or panicking? No.
I'm curious how guys like Chase Young, Bradley Chubb, Nick Bosa compared to, in terms of their first games, compared to Aiden Hutchinson's first game. I don't have the stats pulled up in front of me, but in my opinion, am I saying that...
It's tough to make an apples-to-apples comparison because they're all going up against different offensive lines and stuff.
Right, and the Eagles' offensive line is looked at as one of the top O-lines in football. Exactly. There's no question about it. But it was a vastly underwhelming performance for Aiden Hutchinson. No question about that. It was his first game in the league, and I do think I think he came into a game that it looked to me like it moved a little bit too quick for him. That's not to say he can't get better. That's not to say he can't come into his own and even in just a few short weeks, by week 4, be getting into defense or into offensive backfields and making plays. He's just got to get comfortable.
Yeah.
I'm not going to sit here and tell you that Aiden Hutchinson's going to be a bust because he had a lackluster first game.
Exactly. Yeah.
I still think he's a really good player. It's just I think the game moved a little bit too quick for him in week 1, and he's got to study up, get used to it, and get better. Now, did you hear the interview that Dan Campbell gave on 97.1 Tickets morning show with John Vincent and Stoney? I wish I had some of the audio. I don't. I don't even know if we're allowed to use it anyways. But
quote it.
When asked, and I'm paraphrasing here, but when asked if week 2 was a must win, or if week 2 was
Can I give you my answer before you talk?
Yeah, actually, I'm curious. Is week 2 a must win for this team?
Absolutely. That's
why.
For two reasons. Starting off 0-2 is
that's a death. That's the death.
Yeah, it's almost always a death now.
Yeah.
2,
the death sentence, I should say.
You're going up against a team that you absolutely should beat. You're actually favored in this game. If you want to maintain any sense of respect from the fan base or from even the national fan base that you've garnered after Hard Knocks, you've got to at least get wins against teams you're favored against. If you start off 0-2 with one of those,
it's the first time they've been favored in 24 games
at home, and you lose that game. Yeah, no, it's over.
And did you watch the Commanders play? Because they weren't very good, and they don't have Chase Young, so their defensive line is a little bit less powerful.
So please,
good.
Please don't tell me that Dan Campbell said it's not a must win.
He said it's not a must win. He straight up didn't even say, I won't put win as an expectation for this team at all. He said, my only expectation is to come into week 2 and improve. If we come out of week 2 and we improved in facets of the game, then that's a success. And I'm paraphrasing. But the key word in what he said was, my expectations are to improve. And you know what? I'm not even going to blame him for it. I'm not even going to really get mad about it because he knows what's best for this team. He knows what type of expectations he can put on the guys that he has. He doesn't want to come out throwing lofty expectations around saying, oh, we have to win this game. We have to do this, have to do that. Or what? And that's how you start losing your locker room. So for him to come out and say that the only expectation I have is to improve, I don't have a problem with that. Now, me as a fan and as a person who I consider myself, knowledgeable in the game and an amateur analyst, it's as close to a must-win without being one for me. And the reason I say that is because can you really put a death sentence on a season for a team that didn't have the expectation of making a playoff?
Yeah, no, in that sense, if you want to call it not a must-win in that sense, sure, you're right. Because
that's what it is. Because my expectations aren't for them to make the playoffs. It's 7 wins. And starting 0-2 doesn't mean you can't hit 7 wins.
But if they were to improve on a 3-point loss to the Eagles, that should mean a win against the Washington Commanders.
Should. But I mean, you could also improve in most facets and not improve or get worse in others that cause you to lose the game. Like, it is what it is. That's the NFL. That's football. Or Washington just plays really good football, but you also played a good game. Like, the Lions did not play a good game against the Eagles. There was not a lot of positives to take out of that game outside of a couple of things in offense. Yeah, great opening drive. But the Lions have always been good in scripted drives. Even under guys like, who was it, Joe Lombardi or whatever? He was a terrible OC. Really good in scripted drives. They always have been and always will be.
Our problem has always been adjusting for as long as I can remember.
It's been making adjustments. And honestly, Dan Campbell was terrible as a game manager in this game. Terrible.
Not worse than, what was it, Nathaniel Hackett? Is that the Denver Broncos coach's name?
About that. That was, oh my God. They should have just locked the door so that he couldn't even get back into his office. Just change the locks on the door. Oh, sorry, dude. I thought we told you. Don't even come back. Unbelievable.
When you have tens of drunk people at a bar still yelling, "What the fuck are you doing?" Inebriated and still know you're fucking up. Did you see the video of
the Manning cast for that?
I heard that Payne ripped into him.
Yeah,
but
Peyton Manning.
I haven't actually seen the video.
As soon as the play was dead, for the previous play where the clock was ticking, Peyton Manning just goes, and he goes like this until they finally call the timeout. He's like, "Why didn't they call a timeout there? They're gonna kick it."
They defeated the purpose of calling the timeout too.
And Shannon Sharp goes, "They're gonna kick what?"
They waited so long to defeat the purpose of calling the timeout.
Well, the timeout was to avoid the delay of game. That's why they called the timeout, was to avoid the delay of game so that they can get their kicker out from 64 instead of 69. So, like, it didn't defeat the purpose for what they wanted to do. It was just a terrible coaching decision, is what it was.
But
because they wanted to run the clock as far down as they possibly could so that Seattle
they're acting like it's a chip shot that they're going to make this kick.
I mean, don't get me wrong. That wouldn't have been McManus's longest kick in his career. It wouldn't have been. It would have been his second longest kick. He's
it would have been the second longest kick in NFL history.
And I believe McManus has the longest kick in NFL
Justin
history.
Tucker does.
Hang on.
He did it against the Lions last year.
Oh, you'd be right. 60. His longest is 61. Okay, fair. But apparently McManus even came out and said that was the spot they had to get to. That was, he hits those apparently in practice. He just hasn't had in a game. But
yeah, maybe in Denver.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, Seattle's got some elevation too, but still,
it's not a mile high.
No.
Maybe a quarter mile. I don't know. But
either way, going back to the Lions, I don't give a shit about the Broncos, Seahawks, whatever. Yeah. I'm not going to say that, like, the coaching blunders Campbell had, I almost said Patricia, yikes, sorry, that Campbell had are as big as Nathaniel Hackett's, because they're not.
They're not.
But the onside kick in the third quarter was weird. You can't, your defense couldn't stop Jalen Hurts and Miles Sanders. Why? What made you think you could stop them in a short-yarded situation? One,
that was the logic. If we don't give them the ball back, we don't have to stop them.
That's some crazy ass logic, if you ask me. And then on top of that, the timeout usage at the end of the first half was just why? Like I understand the aggressive philosophy. Like I even heard him say, like my thought process was we score twice. Well, you had less than 2 minutes to do that because you took the timeout before the two. Wait, let me refresh my memory. He took the timeout before the 2 minute warning, or let it go to the 2 minute warning. I think he let it go to the 2 minute warning, and then use the timeouts on defense instead of taking the timeout and having the 2 minute warning. First, you did that, and then on the other side of the ball, on defense, you get a sack and then immediately call timeout so that the Eagles can script up a play that for 2nd and 14. What you do there is you wait to see what the Eagles do on 2nd down. Because I promise you, on 2nd and 14, with about a minute and a half left in your own territory, most teams are probably not going to be very aggressive at that point. They're going to probably be conservative. And if they run the ball, you call timeout. If they throw the ball and it's incomplete, hey, free clock stop. Now it's 3rd and 14. That's when you use your timeouts, because they're going to run it on 3rd down at that point. And if they complete the 1st down, don't use a timeout. You want them to run the clock out at that point. So, like, the mindset of just immediately giving them a timeout to get a scripted play up that's going to work against you on 2nd down, like, it just made no sense to me. Because you still would have had about 40 to 50 seconds left at the half if you didn't use your timeout there to go and get points.
He was focused on maximizing the clock, but
by what? Giving yourself an extra 25 seconds? What the hell difference is it going to make? If you're going to score in a minute and 10 seconds with Jared Goff, you're going to score in 45 seconds with Jared Goff. Like, that's just what it is. It's these types of decisions that Dan Campbell makes that really make me wonder if this guy is a capable head coach. And I'm not saying he's not good at getting his players ready to play or getting his players to buy in and be behind him. I'm not saying he's not good at developing a culture. But I don't care if you have all of those things. If you make coaching blunder after coaching blunder after coaching blunder in the game, you won't win in this league. You just won't. Go look at the Dallas Cowboys and Mike McCarthy. Dude makes coaching blunders all the time. Does that team win? When was their last playoff win? When was their last Super Bowl? Yeah, exactly.
On paper, they should be winning.
Coaching blunders kill them.
Yep.
amongst other things. Much to my pleasure.
So we look forward to next week?
Let's do it. They got a date with the Washington Commanders.
Oh,
Are you
how
still
cute.
getting used to calling them the Commanders?
Yeah, but this time it kind of rolled off the tongue for the first time. Like, I was surprised. I'm very surprised you didn't use their other name by accident.
I almost did earlier in the show. And then I almost called them the Washington football team.
I was really getting used to Washington.
I was too. I don't hate it. Like in my opinion, it's better than the Washington Commanders. I don't like Washington Commanders.
Commanders doesn't make much sense.
It's terrible. It's a terrible name.
Unless it's like Commander-in-Chief George Washington. Is that what they're going for?
I don't know. I mean, whatever. Who knows? But they should have just been like the Washington Generals or something, or Senators, or
So
I don't know.
here's an interesting thing. I'm looking at Per Action Network. The Lions are getting, against the spread, getting 56% of the bets and 81% of the money. However, the line has moved.
I tend to fade the public. I ain't gonna lie to you.
The line has moved from 2.5 to 1.5.
That's probably got to do with a lot of sharp money coming in. Public money, in my opinion, is one of the biggest fallacies in all of betting. Like I don't buy into public money whatsoever.
Yeah.
Or public handle. The sharps are usually where the money is, where the lines move, is on sharp bets. So,
But with this new line of 1.5, though, which is basically a pick 'em at this point.
Almost, yeah.
You taking Detroit on Sunday?
I am gonna take Detroit on Sunday.
You're back in the public money.
I just okay, all right. Hang on. That is entirely on the caveat that our offensive line is healthy. Reports came out today that, as well as DeAndre Swift, the reports came out today. Swift missed practice, Ragnow missed practice, Kramer missed practice, Jonah Jackson missed practice, and Taylor Decker missed practice.
I'm gonna operate on the assumption that they're healthy, and this is all just maintenance.
There shouldn't be maintenance days in week 2.
I agree with you. We shouldn't be resting basketball players in the third week of the season too, but we do.
That is orchestrated tanking, my friend. That is done by design. But if this team is healthy, and if Swift can, because I personally think that the Washington defensive line and pass rush is not, in its current state with no Chase Young, is not as good as what the Lions would have faced on this past weekend against the Eagles. They're good. They're very good. So provided the Lions' offensive line is healthy and Swift is healthy, because without Swift, I don't think this offense does a damn thing. I think you're looking at a game in the teens for both sides. I do think the Lions can win this game by at least a field goal. I do. I don't think it's going to be... What's the total on this game right now? Is it like 45?
Close. I think it's 48.5.
So it's higher than it was last week. Because wasn't it 47.5 last week?
I thought it was 48.5 also. But it might have been 47.
Well, it's still early. But
yeah.
I
Also, the public is very heavy on the over in that game. We got 93% of the money on the over.
In the Lions game?
Yeah.
Lions...
87% of the bets, 93% of the money.
Interesting.
Can we trust Washington to uphold their end of the bargain for the over?
We trust Goff to hold up his end of the bargain.
Put up 35.
Wonderful. Thanks to an Eagles defense that laid down and took nap time.
Well, I'm hoping Washington's defense does the same.
They'd have to get up by 4 scores. You think Washington could score 4 times? Like, Carson Wentz is their quarterback. Is he good? No. This guy sucks.
I remember when he was good.
Offensively speaking, Terry McLaurin might be one of the most overrated players in football.
I disagree. I think he's a pretty damn good receiver.
Fun fact, he's never finished higher than wide receiver 19 in fantasy.
Who is he at throwing to him all these years?
I don't think it matters. Because you've had bad quarterbacks throw to guys that... Really, you think that, like, Juju Smith-Schuster in the one good year he had elite Ben Roethlisberger? Because I don't.
He still had good Ben Roethlisberger. Yeah, the Ben Roethlisberger, he'll support both AB and Juju on the same team and make them both very, very good wide receivers.
There's a lot of wide receivers. Okay, here's a good example. Well, no, because DeAndre Hopkins had Deshaun Watson. Never mind. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of good receivers in this league that are able to make it happen with not so great quarterbacks. A lot of them. A lot of them. Jerry Jeudy last year was a really good receiver. I believe he was better than Terry McLaurin. Was his
Jerry
quarterback?
Jeudy got hurt like 4 games in the last.
Then maybe I'm thinking of Courtland Sutton. It was one of the two of them. One of the Broncos receivers had a really good year. Regardless.
Yep.
Terry McLaurin's one of the most overdrafted wide receivers in fantasy football this year. I
didn't draft him.
I didn't
draft him.
Been proven. He was, I think, drafted like wide receiver 14 this year on average, and he's never landed higher than wide receiver 19. So overdrafted. But anyways, offensively speaking, I don't think there's a lot there with Washington. Yeah, they've got Antonio Gibson, sure. He's a fine player. They've got Terry McLaurin, solid to good player. My question is, if you're Dan Campbell, who are you putting on McLaurin? Are you putting Okudah after his performance against Devontae Smith?
That's a great question. No, like before yesterday or Sunday, I would actually be putting Okudah on Courtland Sutton because I trust him on not as fast receivers than against someone like Jerry Jeudy.
Jerry Jeudy is not in this game, sir.
Wow.
You mean Terry
McLaurin?
Now, you also got to remember they also
you
have...
really got me thinking about the Broncos now.
They also have Curtis Samuel and Jahan Dotson.
We were playing for a second.
So wide receiver core, they're not bad. Curtis Samuel's a solid receiver, and so is Jahan Dotson.
Yeah. Do I put Jeff Okudah on Terry McLaurin? Do you demote your cornerback one after one game, although it was an atrocious game?
Okay, let's be real. They don't have a CB1. They don't. That's just a fact. They have two low end CB2s.
I think I started Aurier against McLaurin because there was some good stuff we saw from him last year. But if things start going south again, I make the switch. But I gotta stick with Aurier for now.
Do you expect a sack out of Aiden Hutchinson this week, knowing it's a much weaker offensive line than you faced last week?
It's hard to expect a sack, but I'm going to go on a limb and say yes.
I kind of do too because
I expect to see something.
I think that Aiden Hutchinson needs to have a bit of a bounce back game.
I at least expect him to see. At least expect to see him in the backfield quite a bit. That's what I'm at least expecting.
Does DeAndre Swift repeat his performance from last week?
Yeah. Maybe not.
Even though he's got a bum ankle.
Maybe not in the same efficiency, but I can see him getting even more volume, and I can see us.
Can you though? Because anytime the dude did something good, they took his ass out of the game.
Shit out of me.
Yeah, me too.
Shit out of me.
Guy gets a big play. Go sit down. Take it to get some water. Why?
I can see the game script being a little more favorable to giving DeAndre Swift more volume, and then might not be as efficient with it, but I would expect to see at least another 100-yard performance out of him. I'm gonna go on a limb and say DeAndre Swift runs. He gets 16 carries. I think it was more than last week, wasn't it? Didn't he have like 14?
Last week Swift had 15 carries.
All right, I'm gonna up it a little bit. 18 carries.
Whoa, that's almost bell cow territory in this league.
Almost.
So you're saying
16 carries for just about 100 yards.
So do you expect that number to come away from Jamal Williams, or do you expect it to come away from the 37 pass attempts Jared Goff had? Can the Lions keep this close enough to where they're not throwing the ball as much?
That's
because in all reality, 21 of 37 for 215, 2 tutties, and a pick for Jared Goff is not great.
Mm-hmm.
That's not very good.
I'm expecting us to lean on the run more come Sunday.
I honestly would as well. Now, granted, the strength of the Commanders' defense is their run D, if I recall, because their D line is the strength of their defense. They're going to run into James Smith-Williams, Daron Payne, Jonathan Allen, and Montez Sweat.
Oh, you went up against a pretty good run D last week.
You did. Mm-hmm. I would argue maybe even a better one than the one you're facing this week. But you didn't have the same injuries last week that you apparently do this week.
Or we should have not foo-foo injuries in an attempt to keep this offensive line together.
Why would they do that, though? Like, you're talking resting young guys here.
It already seemed like they had DeAndre Swift on a pitch count last week, so, like, I don't know.
Could that have been because of a bad ankle?
Maybe.
I don't know. The whole thing has me scared as hell. I ain't gonna lie to you. Like, reading today that 4 of the 5 offensive linemen that you would expect to be starters are hurt. The one that you lost is potentially out for the season.
Yep.
Speaking of, though, how do you think Logan Stenberg did? You don't think so?
Way too many holding penalties. / false start penalties, sorry.
He had 2 in the first quarter, then after that, I thought he was great.
Back to back, and from there I was off the boat.
Wonderful. The dude was solid the rest of the game. Extremely solid. He had 2 false start penalties in the first quarter, back to back, and then he said, all right, got to get my head in this game, and he did. And then he was solid the rest of the game. Like, I give massive props to Logan Stenberg in that game. Okay. Massive props. To step in.
I'm not gonna act like I was eagle eye in the offensive line. But
fair.
I had 15 TVs go.
Fair. I was happy with the way Logan.
I'm mainly going off the fact that I saw 2 straight false start penalties.
I mean, that's a tough look. But for him to rebound and come back off that and get his head in the game and play solid offensive line football like that's I'm not going to complain about that. Yeah. That was pretty good on his part. But so Andrew, all right, Lions -1.5. We're both taking the Lions.
I'm taking the Lions.
Are you taking the over or the under in this game?
Can't take the over. I'm going. I'm not betting the over under, but if I were to bet it, I would go against the public and take the under.
That would be the classic up-down theory, right? They went way over in the last game, and now they come back under. What was the Commanders' score of their first game? What did they do? 28-22, so that probably hit the over as well.
So 48.5 was the over for the Lions last week. Just saw that. Commanders was 43.
So it went pretty far over in both games. So the over is 2-0 with these teams. You're still taking the under.
I'm taking the under. Again, I'm not betting the over/under, but I'm taking the under if I were forced to bet it.
Fair. All right, Andrew.
I might even get a little crazy and add a point to the spread.
2.5, eh? Really?
Get some plus confident. Odds in there.
I am not that confident. Now let me ask you one last question.
And still keep the spread under a field goal. I might do that.
One last question.
Yeah.
Give me the Lions' key to victory here. What do they need to do to win this game against Washington? And I know exactly why, and I won't name it on this show, but I know exactly why you need keys to victory, because I'm the same way.
No, in order to win against the Washington Redskins.
Damn it. Where's my alarm? Damn it.
One key to victory. Trot out a healthy offensive line. Second key to victory. Second key to victory is someone, dear God, please. Someone, please, dear God, contain Terry McLaurin. We cannot have a repeat A.J. Brown performance.
He was not the leading receiver for Washington last week. Antonio Gibson was.
Was it Curtis Samuel?
No, Antonio Gibson. 7 for 72.
Okay.
Terry McLaurin had 2 catches for 58 yards and a touchdown. Curtis Samuel had 8 for 55 and a touchdown.
So you're going to tell me the key to victory here is contain the running back. The pass catching back. Well, Antonio Gibson's a workhorse until what's his face?
J.D. McKissick. J.D. McKissick is there, but
the rookie was it Brian Robinson or something?
Hang on, I got
Their second round pick. I think it's Brian Robinson.
I think you're right.
By the way, Purdy might be back by week 5.
Really? The guy you're thinking of is Brian Robinson. Yes.
Yeah. He reportedly beat out Gibson for the job until he got the hip put out on him.
I'll believe it when I see it because Antonio Gibson's played pretty damn well so far. 150 total per all-purpose yards last week, but
against the Jacksonville Jaguars.
My key to victory, one of my keys to victory this week is to not let Gibson beat you. Like you mentioned, don't let him run all over you.
Well, let me get my third one though.
Oh, sorry, get your third one out.
We're on the game right. All right, go back to you.
My other key to victory is force turnovers on defense. You've got to beat Carson Wentz. You got to force him to make mistakes. You got to get him throwing.
Have to force him. Just got to take advantage of it when he does.
And you got to force it and then take advantage of it, because the Lions, one of the things that they don't do enough of is force turnovers. If you can force Carson Wentz, and he is susceptible to turnovers, you can force him to make mistakes and throw some picks, fumble the football. Antonio Gibson also was known to fumble a little bit, if I recall. And you are able to take advantage of those turnovers in short field situations, you will win this game. I know the Jaguars forced Carson Wentz to throw 2 picks last week, and they didn't win. But, 1, it's the Jaguars. 2, you also allowed him to throw for 4 touchdowns. You can't let that happen. So you got to keep the receivers quiet in this game. And you got to watch out, because their receivers are the thing that worries me about the Washington receivers is all 3 of them can line up just about everywhere. Now, I'm not saying that they're all really good lining up everywhere. I don't think they really have a true wide out receiver. Like I think Terry McLaurin best operates out of the slot. I think Curtis Samuel best operates out of the slot. I think Jahan Dotson best operates out of the slot. But all 3 of you can still beat you everywhere. They got speed. They have route running ability. They got hands. Like they're a tough receiving core that is able to move and give you uncomfortable looks. There was an ad just playing in the background that had a little bit of background music to what I was saying, and it was hilarious. I was trying not to laugh. It was a Coors Light ad. That was so funny. But it was going,
direct competitors with Liquid Death.
It was going do-do-do-do-do. It was great. But
cold as the Rockies.
The Washington Commanders are a team that can line up their receivers and give you uncomfortable looks and move your defensive backfield around and allow Carson Wentz to really get a read on the defense. So you got to keep Carson Wentz off guard pre-snap to be effective in this one. For your defense to be effective. So it's a tall order for your defense, especially a defense that really is not very good. But it's something that they're going to have to do, is make Carson Wentz comfortable with the pre-snap reads, and don't let those receivers beat you when they line up all over the field. So those are my keys to victory for the Lions.
I don't disagree with the keys to victory. I like them. I like them better than mine.
Move on to a little bit of a Pistons fun topic here.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
As I was browsing the Reddit world today, which is not always the best thing to do for one's sanity, but a user by the name of Lil Grip posted in the Detroit Pistons subreddit asking for people's hot takes on the Pistons. And I saw some interesting ones that people were throwing out there. So, Nick, I wanted to toss them your way and do a little fun game of buy-sell.
A little buy or sell. Bringing back an old school game on the show. All right. I like it. Do we get an intro? I'm kidding.
Do we still have the intro?
We do not. Actually, I might somewhere like in the depths of this hard drive.
Well,
take me a minute to find it.
So your first hot take.
I'm ready. I feel like we need to have some like music backing this. Not the Coors Light commercial.
Killian Hayes is not good enough to be in the NBA.
I sell that. He, in my opinion, is one of those Swiss Army defensive specialists off the bench, and I think there is absolutely a spot on most teams in this league for a guy like that.
Yeah,
absolutely a spot for a guy like that. If Austin Reeves and Alex Caruso have jobs in this league, then Killian Hayes should too. And I'm not even saying that those guys shouldn't, because I think they're good players in their roles. I'm also saying that about Killian Hayes.
Yeah, there's 2 skills that he has that are already high-level NBA skills, which you said is his defensive ability and his court vision.
Yep.
AKA playmaking ability.
Yep.
Now, the reason we harp on Killian Hayes so much on his scoring ability is because if he wants to be a guard that's going to get more than 25 minutes in the NBA per night, he needs to at least be somewhat of a threat to put a ball in a basket.
Yeah.
he cannot be in a position where defenses just completely sag off him at a 3-point line because that hinders your ability to make a play. But
not only that, but it also hurts your
good.
teammates.
Yeah, he's already good enough to be a bench point guard that's not playing heavy minutes. It's behind bench point guard that's behind a star guard. Basically, the situation he's hopefully going to be in.
Yeah, I have no issues with that, and that's an NBA player.
Mm-hmm. Now, is he living up to the 7th overall pick?
No,
probably not.
But it's not his fault. He was taken number 7 overall.
Here's another fun one. Marvin Bagley's the best scorer on this basketball team.
What? Sell.
Yeah, we both sell. No
I don't
comment.
even think he's the 3rd best scorer on this basketball team.
Jaden Ivey's biggest hurdle will be staying healthy.
Oh, God, I hope not.
You think about his player type, it makes sense.
It does. I almost want to buy it. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm between, okay, it is one of his 2 biggest hurdles. I buy that. The other one is his shot falling.
3-point shot?
Yep, his 3-point shot. Those are his 2 biggest hurdles: health and his 3-point shot.
Yeah.
His 3rd hurdle would be meshing with Cade, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm not buying, like, it's a factor, obviously, but to say a rookie with no past injuries, I'm not going to look because I feel like I'm jinxing him. Biggest hurdle coming into his rookie season is staying healthy. I feel like that's just, it's not based in fact. At least not yet.
That's fair. That's a fair assessment.
I believe his 2 biggest hurdles are going to be his 3-point shot and his defense. How willing he has the defense ability? How willing is he to stay locked in? Because that was the issue.
The reason I don't peg his defense as being that big of a hurdle for him is because we have enough good defensive players on the floor with him at all times that I don't think it's going to be as big of a factor. You can hide a lackluster defense when you have other good defensive talent out there, and they do.
Here's another Ivy one, by the way. Jane Ivy will average 21 points per game.
Sell.
And shoot a better 3 ball than expected.
I sell the first half. I'll buy the second half. Even though I do think it's one of his biggest hurdles, that doesn't mean he doesn't clear that hurdle.
Yeah, you'll never catch me predicting a rookie to score 21.
No.
Sorry.
If a rookie like Cade, who had the volume that Cade had, didn't average that, there ain't no damn way a guy like Jaden Ivey playing with Cade is going to average that. So, no.
I agree. I can see him averaging like 14 or 15.
Cade had like ridiculous volume of the ball of the offense running through him last year. Like it was the entire offense almost, and he didn't average that. So no, I don't buy that one bit.
Oh, here's an interesting one. The Pistons gave up on Andre Drummond.
Sell, 100% sell. I
think that himself, I feel like.
He gave up on himself. One,
which led the Pistons to be
he refused to develop his game any further than it was, and by result gave up on himself because the league was passing him by, and he was an empty stats guy. That dude had more empty stats than like any player I think I've watched in my lifetime.
Yeah. When I can't say that. I can't say the Pistons gave up on him when he's someone that refused to invest the time in himself to make himself better. Commit a post move to memory. Like,
I honestly am curious, and I don't even know how somebody would bring this stat forward to me, but I want to know what the Pistons' record was in games Andre Drummond put up a 2020 game. Because I'd be willing to bet you it's below 500. And that right there tells you how empty his stats were. Guy puts up 2020 and they lose.
Sadiq Bey will make an All-Star game at some point in his career.
Oh, buy all day.
I don't even think that's how to take.
No, I don't either. I straight up don't either. Is he going to be a perennial All-Star? No. But is he going to be something?
But
like
he's the exact type of guy that might like sneak one in, like
sneak one or two. Like, could he be Chris Middleton for the Pistons, like what he is for the Bucks? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I 100% buy that. He's got the skill set to do it. He just has to maximize the skill set now.
Absolutely.
Here's an easy one. I say easy one. Sorry, interesting one, not easy one.
The only easy one for me was the Bay and the Drummond one.
Beef Stew will shoot league average from 3 this season.
So, As much as I would
what is league average?
I think it's like 33, 34, as much as, or maybe even 32. As much as I would love to see it, I see him shooting
34.2%.
Yeah, I see him shooting about 31.
Oh, wait, no, that's an old article. Sorry, that's an old article.
How old?
I guess it's just not factoring in last year.
I don't think it moved that much.
Yeah. We'll call it 34%. Let's call it 34%.
I sell that.
Oh, here you go. StatMuse. I think it's 35.2% is league average.
Jesus, it went up that much?
Yeah.
I definitely sell that. I can see
going back to the 79-80 season.
I can see Isaiah Stewart shooting around 32-33% from outside. And that's me like having lofty goals for him.
Mm-hmm. I
expect him to be somewhere around 30% from outside this year. I can see him shooting 32-33%. I don't see him shooting 34-35. Like you're asking a guy to do something he's never had in his game in his entire career. Or potentially his entire life.
He kind of had it, like, closing out the season last year.
He took 10 threes. And that may actually be a legit number. I just threw out a random number. That may be a legit number.
And in those games...
What is your minimum qualifying total?
61%.
Like, what is your minimum qualifying attempts? Yeah, 61%. Would he take 7 threes?
Also, Summer League.
Don't miss me with that.
I knew that was going to trigger you.
Yeah.
All right.
That's almost as bad as all the videos. Like my favorite thing right now is the videos
I'm gonna agree
of
with you. I'm going to say low 30%, which is enough for me for this season.
My favorite thing right now is like the videos of player highlights in their like off-season 3-on-3 tournaments or whatever, 5-on-5 tournaments, and being like, oh, Ja Morant is ready and gonna dominate the season as he's like at half speed in this like 5-on-5 pickup game. I'm like, what? Like that
I got
stuff,
one.
It just drives me nuts.
I got one more for you to close it out. The Pistons will trade one of Weaver's... Sorry, this is poorly worded. I was trying to change it up. The Pistons will trade one of the guys that Weaver drafted in his first draft, a.k.a. Killian Hayes, Sadiq Bey, Isaiah Stewart, this season.
I sell that. I think Weaver and Dwayne Casey are in lockstep in how they're going to utilize the players on this roster, and all three of those guys are in the fold for the future of this team. I think the only one
you can even make a case for is Killian Hayes if he doesn't show improvement in the first half of the season, and there's a team willing to give you something.
Hot take. I think Isaiah Stewart is a guy you can also make a case for,
unless he develops into the stretch four that they're looking for.
I think even then you can make a case for it, because then I think he even becomes more valuable. Especially if Marvin Bagley comes on strong, and then if Jalen Duren starts to develop a little bit more, I definitely think that you can see a place where Isaiah Stewart could be looked at. Let me put it this way. I don't think any player on this team besides Cade Cunningham is untouchable. That includes Jaden Ivey. I don't think anybody on this team is untouchable besides Cade. But I don't think... I think Casey and Weaver have an idea of what each guy's role for the future of this franchise is going to be, and all three... Well... Some guys, they may just not be in the picture long term. You know what I mean? They may be okay. Like Kelly Olynyk, is he here? Is he in the picture long term? No.
Well, yeah, that's different. I'm talking about guys that you draft that you're playing major minutes.
Right.
That's what I'm talking about.
And I think each of those guys have solidified roles in that picture. Like I think Killian is the backup point guard, the defensive knife off the bench. You have Sadiq Bey as your number 3 scorer. Starting, in your swingman, so to speak. You have Isaiah Stewart as a guy you're trying. See, the reason I say Isaiah Stewart is because he's the one who doesn't have a solidified role. And that may be the one you could probably make the most argument for, is because he doesn't have a solidified role. They're asking him to do things he hasn't done in his NBA career because there's other guys that may do his normal role better than him.
Yep.
Well... Let's just say this. If Isaiah Stewart was secure as the starting 5 for this team, they wouldn't have drafted Jalen Duren.
Yeah, I think they're when you say they envision a role, I think the role they envision for Isaiah Stewart is the 4. But
well, again, he's the only guy that
develops that shot.
Right, he's not solidified there. Sadiq Bey is solidified in his role. I think Killian Hayes is solidified in his role. Isaiah Stewart's not solidified in any role with this team. So I think if there's one that could be traded, it'd be him. I still sell it. I don't think anyone's going to be traded from those 3 this year.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think anyone's going to be traded this year from those 3. Not saying all 3 of those guys are going to be part of your core when you're ready to compete, but I don't think anything happens this year.
I think one of them will be a part of your core, and 2 of them will be supplementary pieces to it.
I'm saying even when I say part of your core, I mean like I could easily see a situation where like you're going to have to part with someone like Sadiq Bey to get a star in here. Like, not that I want that to happen.
I was going to say, I'd be very disappointed, but I get what you're saying, and I agree with it. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of why I gave the caveat of I don't think there's anybody on this team that's untouchable besides Cade. Like, if there's an offer out there to go get a star, and they want Sadiq, I might do it. Would you have traded Sadiq Bey for Donovan Mitchell?
No, because I don't know what role Donovan Mitchell plays in this team.
Does it matter? He's Donovan Mitchell. That's one of those situations where you find the role for him. You just make it happen. They obviously probably, if they would have asked for Jaden Ivey and Sadiq Bey in a first, would you have done it?
Absolutely not.
Really? Knowing that the team he went to, that the Cavs gave up like a bajillion first-round picks?
I'd rather give up a bajillion first-round picks.
I mean, I would too.
Than gut my core and give up a bajillion first-round picks.
But your core really isn't gutted at that point because it's still Cade Cunningham and Donovan Mitchell. And right now it's Cade Cunningham and Sadiq Bey, and you hope Jaden Ivey.
You hope Jaden Ivey, yeah.
So you're not really gutting your core. You could make an argument that you're upgrading it, not knowing what Jaden Ivey is. Because you add a superstar in Donovan Mitchell. Yeah. Could you imagine a backcourt of Cade Cunningham and Donovan Mitchell? Because, whoa.
Well, that'd be awesome.
That'd be incredible. Hell of a lot better than what, frankly, Donovan Mitchell or Jaden Ivey and Cade Cunningham are looking like. That's not knowing what Jaden Ivey could be.
Yeah.
But, I mean, Jaden Ivey could be John Morant 2.0, and we have the best backcourt in basketball. Hey, who knows? That would be awesome.
I'll have to have 2K tell me what happens. Simulate a season.
Because 2K does everything so accurately. Is this 2K any good? I've heard mixed things.
So, yeah, I've been doing a lot of just research on just reception and what kind of features and all that kind of stuff. From what I've seen, from a pure simulation gameplay,
it's the exact same thing it's been for the last 20 years.
No, they made a lot of improvements this year from last year. Like, this is like one of the biggest jumps they've made in terms of gameplay and stuff. Like, graphics are the same.
Didn't they say they did that last year though? That we made gameplay improvements and it was the same damn game. Just
they made
packaged.
They made a jump last year because of next gen.
Yeah, but
next
gameplay wise, it wasn't
for better gameplay.
But it didn't change a damn thing. It was still the same damn game.
But I've heard gameplay wise, it's the best 2K's ever been. I've heard in terms of things. I've heard in things of my team
2K
and my
Interactive
career.
And Ronnie 2K himself.
In terms of my team and my career, I've heard it's the worst it's ever been because of the increase of microtransactions.
Oh, wonderful!
And I think like it's gotten to a point where like it's impossible to compete in something like my career.
When are we going to get a good franchise mode in a game again?
I've heard 2K has a good franchise mode.
Do they? Okay, well, I'll believe when I see it.
And they did have one before. Like, they've had a good franchise mode. It's just I haven't had the time to really invest in it.
So, when you buy a Nintendo Switch,
and I've heard Madden is an improvement, but still garbage.
I've heard Madden is straight up awful. Straight up awful. When you buying a Switch, you saw the news that came out today, right?
I did, but I saw my 64 to play it on too.
GoldenEye's getting remastered, but like it's a remaster. Like it's you know what I'm saying? You can actually play it online with friends.
Is it a true remaster? Or they're doing a remake.
That I don't know. The news was just released today, so I don't know if they're remaking it. It says remaster, right? It says remaster, but who knows?
Yeah.
Actually, I think it's going to be a remaster or it might just be being released on Switch Online. Maybe that's what it is. Because the Switch Online, their expanded gameplays portion, kind of like PS Plus or whatever, PlayStation Now Plus or whatever, gives you games in your library. So does Nintendo Switch's higher tier, and they have a bunch of old school ones like Ocarina of Time, and now GoldenEye is going to be.
And they just announced it. They actually just announced a new Legend of Zelda.
They did
too.
They did. They did announce a new one today.
But yeah, I think if the GoldenEye remaster is they do a quality job on it, that might be enough to entice me.
It's a fun little console. Anyways. Anyways, anything else to add? Any other hot takes from the Pistons?
No, that was it. Not all of them, but that was the ones that I cared to entertain.
What is the most outlandish one you saw?
I mean, how not safe for work can we get?
I mean, I don't get too wild. We have to adhere by certain restrictions.
In terms of outlandish, like not outlandish as in jokey.
What the hell could they have said that's outlandish and not safe for work? We're talking the Pistons.
It's Reddit.
Okay, enough said. Somebody's sleeping with somebody's porn star girlfriend is my assumption.
Sadiq will end up a better player than Kate Cunningham.
Wow, that's hot. That's a hot take right there. I mean, I sell it, but like, it's not that outlandish. Like, Sadiq's a good player.
All right, how about this one? Jay Ivey will be the only superstar on the Pistons.
I saw that. I think Cade is not far away.
Is that more outlandish?
Yeah, it's a little bit more outlandish. I actually do think that is a little bit more outlandish.
How about Sadiq will make an All-Star game before Cade?
Ooh, that one's not that outlandish. I'm not gonna lie to you. That one, like, because he's got the extra year on him. Mm-hmm. He did have some really good games last year. Like, if he can get more consistency with some of those numbers, like, it's All-Star worthy. I mean, didn't he have a 50-point game last year?
He did. He did have a 50-point game last year.
That's not that crazy. I don't buy it, but it ain't that crazy. I don't buy it either. That ain't that crazy. That one's titillating hot. Like, that one kind of made me feel weird.
Those are the outlandish ones I'm willing to say on the pod.
Okay, fair enough. All right, and that is going to close it out for this week, guys. Thank you for listening. Follow us on Twitter at RealFanReport. Thank you to our producers as well at Detroit Podcast. They are Detroit Sports Podcast. Hope you guys have a good weekend. Hope you guys enjoyed the show. This has been the Fan Reporters by fans.
For fans.
We will catch you guys next week as always. Have a good one. Peace out.
Peace.